Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, FG resumes evacuation of Nigerians from South Africa. Dickson dismisses defection fears, urges Obi Kwakwanso to remain in NDC. FCCPC threatens sanctions, warns marketers over petrol price cuts. Iran and US agree to halt attacks and renew talks, US official says. And Cardi B, Tiana Taylor, Kendrick Lamar shine at 2026 BET Awards. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far.
The federal government has confirmed that the next evacuation flight bringing Nigerians home from South Africa will depart on Tuesday as efforts continue to ensure the safety of citizens following fears of possible xenophobic attacks. Speaking with newsmen on Monday, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Ebenfa, said an Air Peace aircraft departed Nigeria on Monday and will return with another batch of evacuated Nigerians on Tuesday morning. The latest development comes amid heightened concerns over planned anti-immigrant protests expected to begin on June 30th, with the government continuing its voluntary evacuation program for Nigerians who have indicated interest in returning home. Ebenfa also urged Nigerians who may remain in South Africa after the planned June 30 protests to stay calm, remain security conscious, avoid areas where protesters are gathering, and maintain regular contact with the Nigerian High Commission for updates and assistance. The latest evacuation is part of the program approved by President Bola Tinubu earlier this month to facilitate the voluntary return of Nigerians willing to leave South Africa. Before the latest operation, the federal government had already evacuated 328 Nigerians in 2 batches. The first evacuation flight, which arrived on June 11th, brought home 262 Nigerians, while a second batch of 66 returnees arrived in Lagos on June 25th. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has alleged that there are fresh attempts to ensure that the African Democratic Congress, ADC, is not on the ballot for the 2027 general elections. Atiku, who is also the ADC presidential candidate for the 2027 general election, made the allegation in a statement issued by his senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Shaibu, on Monday. The former vice president said he had received credible information that anti-democratic elements were allegedly plotting a coordinated onslaught to ensure that the ADC was excluded from the 2027 election. He warned that any attempt to prevent the ADC from participating fully in the electoral process would represent one of the gravest assaults on Nigeria's constitutional democracy since the return to civic rule. Atiku, while stating that he hoped the information would not materialize, noted that recent developments had made it impossible to dismiss such warnings lightly. He noted that Nigerians had watched over the past months as every conceivable tactic had allegedly been deployed against the opposition, from attempts to manufacture leadership crisis to judicial ambushes, administrative harassment, and calculated efforts to delegitimize the country's fastest growing political movement. He added, no administration has the constitutional authority to determine which political party Nigerians are permitted to vote for. Sovereignty belongs to the people, not to those who temporarily wield power. The ballot is sacred, and every attempt to tamper with it is an attack on the Republic itself. The national leader of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC, Senator Seraki Dickson, has appealed to the party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, his running mate, Dr. Kwakwanso, and others, to remain committed to the party despite the recent Federal High Court judgment in Lokoja that questioned its registration. Dickson made the appeal on Sunday during an interview on a television program, dismissing reports that some of the party's candidates were considering leaving the NDC following Friday's judgment delivered by Justice Issa Dashin. The court had set aside its earlier judgment of December 10, 2025, which directed the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to register the NDC as a political party. Justice Dashen ruled that the previous judgment affected the interests of the Peace Movement Party, which claimed ownership of the logo used in securing the registration order, but was not joined in the suit. Reacting to concerns that the ruling could destabilize the party, Dickson insisted that the judgment was only intended to create panic and discourage members. He maintained that all NDC candidates had already emerged through the party's processes and would eventually be uploaded to INEC's portal for the 2027 general election. The NDC leader disclosed that the party would file its appeal on Monday, insisting that the Lokoja judgment neither deregistered the party nor prevented it from participating in the 2027 general election. A presidential aspirant of the People's Redemption Party in the 2027 general elections, Yakubu Mohammed Kingsley, has distanced himself from the party's national chairman, Hakeem Baba Ahmed, over the latter's call for President Bola Tinubu to resign over the country's worsening insecurity. Kingsley, in a statement personally signed and made available to journalists in Abuja on Sunday, said he did not support calls for the president's resignation, insisting that Nigeria's democracy provides constitutional processes for leadership transition. The statement, titled "A Message of Hope to the Nigerian People, Nigeria Shall Rise Again," urged Nigerians to focus on strengthening democratic institutions and preparing for the 2027 general elections. The PRP chieftain, who is challenging in court the outcome of the party's May 25th presidential primary that produced former Cross River State Governor Donald Duke as the party's presidential candidate, said the country's challenges require visionary leadership rather than unconstitutional actions. He lamented the prevailing economic hardship and insecurity across the country, saying many Nigerians were struggling to survive. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has extended the 21-day ultimatum it issued to the federal government by 4 weeks. The association warned that it might embark on an industrial action if outstanding welfare and professional demands are not fully addressed within the new timeline. The NARD said it decided at an extraordinary National Executive Council (ENEC) meeting held virtually on June 27th, hours before the initial ultimatum it issued on June 8th expired. In a communique signed by its president, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, the Secretary General, Dr. Shaibu Ibrahim, and the Publicity and Social Secretary, Dr. Abdul Majid Ibrahim. The association said the extension would give the government more time to implement agreed resolutions and enable members to review the level of compliance at its July 2026 NEC meeting in Gombe State. However, NARD declared that an industrial dispute currently exists between the association and the federal government over unresolved issues, stressing that it could not guarantee industrial harmony beyond the 4-week window if satisfactory progress was not recorded. The NARD's demands include the immediate release of the 2026 Medical Residency Training Fund to eligible resident doctors nationwide within 21 days, as well as the establishment of a transparent and sustainable salary payment system for house officers and clearance of outstanding salary arrears. The association also demanded the immediate implementation of the recommendations issued by the Ministerial Committee on Assaults Against Healthcare Workers, saying that effective measures must be adopted to protect doctors and other healthcare workers across the country. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has warned oil marketers against exploiting consumers, saying the current retail prices of petrol do not reflect the sharp decline in global crude oil prices. In a statement issued on Sunday, the Commission said its ongoing surveillance of the downstream petroleum sector had uncovered indications of consumer exploitation, as recent reductions in petrol prices by refiners, depot operators, and marketers remain insignificant despite the sustained fall in crude oil prices. According to the FCCPC, global crude oil prices have dropped to about $73 per barrel, following the ceasefire between the United States and Iran and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the FCCPC, Tunji Bello, said although the Commission does not regulate petrol prices in Nigeria's deregulated downstream petroleum sector, it has a statutory responsibility to ensure consumers are protected from unfair and exploitative practices. He questioned why marketers often respond immediately by increasing pump prices whenever crude oil prices rise, yet delay passing on the benefits to consumers when prices fall. According to him, the Commission will investigate and sanction any company found engaging in anti-competitive conduct, consumer exploitation, or any practice that violates the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. The Nigerian naira traded at an official exchange rate of 1,379.22 per United States dollar at the Nigerian Foreign Exchange Market on Monday, June 29, 2026, according to the latest available market data. The official rate indicates that $100 would exchange for about $137,922 at the NFEM window, while $1,000 would be worth approximately $1.379 million at the prevailing rate. In the parallel market, commonly referred to as the black market, the dollar traded around 1,390 naira for buying and between 1,400 and 1,405 naira for selling, depending on location, transaction volume, and dealer quotations across major cities, including Lagos and Abuja. At the average parallel market selling rate of 1,400 naira per dollar, $100 would fetch about 140,000 naira, while $1,000 would exchange for roughly 1.4 million naira. The spread between the official and parallel market rates remained relatively narrow at around 21 naira per dollar, reflecting the naira's continued stability in recent months amid improved foreign exchange liquidity and policy reforms aimed at supporting the local currency. Still to come, Uganda's military chief orders shutdown of 2 major media outlets. Iran and US agreed to halt attacks and renew talks, US official says. Heartbreak for South Africa as Canada ends World Cup dream. And Cardi B, Tiana Taylor, Kendrick Lamar shine at 2026 BET Awards. Do stay with us.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox. It's a lens, one that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Uganda's military chief, who is also the president's son, said on Sunday he had ordered the closure of 2 leading media outlets, declaring that he did not believe in a free press. Muhoozi Kainerugaba said the Daily Monitor, Uganda's largest independent daily newspaper, and NTV Uganda, one of the country's largest private broadcasters, would not reopen without his permission. He did not give specific reasons for closing the media outlets, both of which are owned by Nation Media Group, NMG, a media conglomerate headquartered in Kenya and listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. The Daily Monitor reported on Sunday that military personnel had been deployed at NMG's premises in the capital, Kampala, and that staff were being prevented from leaving or entering the premises. NTV Uganda and other NMG TV and radio broadcasters in the country were all down as of Sunday morning. Iran and the United States agreed to halt recent hostilities in the Gulf and renew talks regarding their dispute over the Strait of Hormuz, a U.S. official said on Sunday, raising hopes of saving an interim peace deal that was under pressure from days of tit-for-tat strikes. Technical talks are slated to continue on all areas of the MOU. Both sides will stand down for now and vessels can move freely, the official said, referring to the 14-point Memorandum of Understanding that was agreed on June 17th, under which the strait would be reopened for traffic. Axios, which first reported the cessation of hostilities, citing a senior U.S. official, said talks would resume Tuesday in Qatar. A return to diplomacy would follow several days of strikes and counter-strikes since an Iranian projectile hit a cargo vessel in the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday, with both the US and Iran accusing the other of breaking an interim ceasefire that was agreed to on June 17th. A father and his son have been rescued alive from the rubble of a collapsed building in Venezuela. 4 days after powerful earthquakes ripped through the country, offering a rare moment of hope as rescuers continue searching for survivors beneath mountains of debris. The pair were pulled from the wreckage on Sunday in the coastal state of La Guaira after emergency workers spent nearly 12 hours carefully cutting through concrete slabs and twisted steel. Rescue teams from France and the United States led the delicate operation, using specialist equipment to locate and extract the survivors without causing further collapse. Both were severely dehydrated and were immediately taken to hospital for treatment. Their rescue came barely 24 hours after another remarkable breakthrough, when a woman and her 9-month-old baby were found alive under the remains of a residential building. While the latest rescues have lifted the spirits of emergency workers and anxious families, experts warn that the chances of finding more survivors diminish. Experts warn that the chances of finding more survivors diminish significantly after the first 3 days following a major earthquake. Authorities say at least 1,450 people have now lost their lives. More than 3,000 others have been injured, and about 13,000 residents displaced by the disaster. Hundreds of buildings have either collapsed or suffered extensive structural damage, while thousands of people remain missing as search operations continue across the affected communities. More than 2,600 rescue personnel from several countries have joined Venezuelan emergency agencies in combing through destroyed buildings in search of those still trapped. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez said restoring essential services remains a priority, with electricity gradually returning to affected communities, although schools will remain closed while engineers assess damaged structures. South Africa's dream of a historic run at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. American actress and singer Tiana Taylor and hip-hop duo Clips emerged as the biggest winners at the 2026 BET Awards, taking home 3 awards each during the ceremony held at the Peacock Theatre in Los Angeles on Sunday. Taylor capped off a remarkable year by winning Best Actress, Video Director of the Year, and the newly introduced Fashion Vanguard Award. She was also honored with the prestigious Icon of the Year award, one of 3 honorary recognitions presented during the ceremony. Lamar added to his impressive BET Awards record by winning Best Male Hip-Hop Artist for the 9th time, further extending his lead as the most decorated artist in the category. Cardi B secured the Best Female Hip-Hop Artist Award, her 3rd career win in the category and first since winning consecutive honors in 2018 and 2019.